What?
All right. Hello and welcome everyone to the fourth episode of Fun Basketball. Today I am joined by Sam Cooper of the Timeline podcast. He's the co-host. Sam, you have your co-host Michael. He really upset me. I was gonna ask him on because he was on my last show, but he is spreading fake news about Jaren Jackson being a bad defender. So I asked you to come on.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Grant. He does that.
yeah.
He's a little testy. He likes to get into it with other people. It's actually funny between the two of us. Mike is 10 years older than I am, so he's like you would think he would be the mature one, but he sends me through DMs like all of his worst tweets, and he's like, "Should I post this? Will this offend anyone?" And like 75% of the time, I'm like, "Dude, don't post that. That's a really bad idea." So I'm sorry if he offended you. That's
No,
uh,
no.
that's that's sort of just our relationship.
No, I just wanted to poke fun at him. Actually, it's funny that you mentioned that because one time he tweeted out like, you can tell a lot by a person from what their Instagram like search thing is, and I sent him my
Remember that?
Instagram search thing, and I was like, what kind of person does this tell you I am? And he was like, the same kind of person as me. So
Yeah.
so that was funny. And then also joining me is fellow Mavs fan at DMoney23. He's one of my best friends. We met on Twitter, and I would be lost without him. His name is David. David, how are you today?
Great, Grant. How are you, man?
I'm
Thanks for having
chilling.
me on.
I'm chilling. Yeah, of course, anytime. I'm gonna have you on a lot in the future, so it's good. I'm glad we finally got this cranking out.
Pop-up
So
podcast, Jerry. Let's go.
yes, sir. All right, so what we're doing is we're trading between all five Pacific teams. We got the Suns, Warriors, Kings, and Clippers. The weakest one I have, and I don't think Mavs Twitter would like this very much. I don't think anyone would like this very much. But I had to make a trade that made some sense, so I went ahead and did the Lakers. This is literally the only trade you can make because David mentioned before we started broadcast or before we started recording that literally everyone is either a free agent, has an option, which those haven't been accepted or declined yet, and they're probably going to be declined. And there's a bunch of other stipulations with the Lakers. So the only contract I had that makes sense, and this is going to hurt, but it's Tim Hardaway Jr. for Danny Green and Kyle Kuzma. Now, I know that's awful, but Danny Green is an expiring contract, and Kyle Kuzma is somewhat of a young player. If you can obtain an asset like that and still keep 1831 and Jalen Brunson, that's a decent enough package to get you some sort of NBA player in return. So I wouldn't be keeping Kuzma here. I don't want Kuzma in Dallas, but in this
I was gonna
particular
say, Grant,
trade,
did you see Kuzma's Twitter tirade yesterday?
no, I don't. I've
Bro,
been way
oh
too
my
busy.
God.
What did he do?
I don't want to get too into it, but he tweeted some non-basketball related stuff that was
Let me check this out.
it was a little questionable. Some of his views of the world, some of his views about a certain pandemic going around
Yeah.
the world right now. So I'm just saying, I don't know if that's exactly an asset that you want to give up
Well, I don't.
assets for.
See,
But
I don't.
but if your idea
This
is
is
just to flip them,
yeah. This is just Tim Hardaway doesn't intend on coming back, and I'm a LeBron AD guy, so I want the Lakers to win. As most Mavs fans don't. I want the Lakers to win, just because I like those guys, and I plan on flipping the asset right away. I would keep Danny Green. I know he played awful in the bubble, but he's still
And
Danny
he
Green.
played the Mavs too.
Do what?
He kind of played the Mavs last offseason too. Pulling the string,
I
getting
mean,
himself a contract. I don't know. It just gave me a sour taste in my mouth, but
I mean,
he's definitely something we need.
he's
Three of
he,
you.
he's a 3-and-D guy who's got championship experience now. He's been on three different finals teams. It's just from experience and veterans. Like we need veterans. We need leadership. We don't need any more like projects or tests. But yeah, so that's the. I didn't read at all what Kuzma posted. So I mean, if he posted anything offensive, I'm sorry. I've been off Twitter for like 3 days. Um, but yeah, that's the only Lakers trade I could come up with. David, you got a Lakers trade?
Uh, Not really. No. I
Yeah,
think most of my other teams,
yeah,
even
it's
with
it's hard.
Caldwell Pope and Bradley, those are the two
Yeah,
that would help fill holes that we have with shooting with KCP and defense, and Bradley with. He's not really a playmaker, but he is a defensive-minded guard.
Yeah, definitely.
Could use some help.
Absolutely.
But, I mean, that would take signing trades or signing him through the off season, and hopefully at a 1-year deal, so we don't eat into our cap space for 21.
Yeah, so we can steal Devin Booker from Phoenix. Yeah.
Easy.
So
Don't do that, man. Say that behind my back, not to my face.
sorry. All right. Speaking of Phoenix, we'll go ahead and jump right into that one. So I want Javon Carter. I understand that he's restricted, so he has to accept that qualifying offer. So there's not really I mean, there is a way we can trade for him, but I mean, the news broke that y'all are possibly going for Chris Paul. If that happens, then you only have enough money to get Chris Paul and sign someone on MLE. Obviously, what I've noticed.
That's not quite true. That's not quite true necessarily. There is a way that they could get a guy through cap space, but it would probably. I don't want to say anything definitively, but yeah, that probably means no Javon Carter for sure.
Yeah.
It definitely means, I'll tell you this, it definitely means no Dario Saric, no Aaron Baines, guys like that will hit free agency. Javon Carter, I don't exactly know what his value is, but he's an interesting piece.
Yeah, I like him a lot. So my trade, I want Javon Carter. Obviously, I think there's other ways we can go about obtaining him. I know a lot of Suns Twitter is it's either everyone loves Oubre or everyone wants him gone right away. I like Oubre. He's definitely got exactly what we need, and it would hurt me to let go of this guy because I love him very much. This is the only trade that I really had that makes sense, though. It's and I'm only throwing Justin Jackson in here to make the money work. So you can waive him or cut him or send him back in any way you want. Because I mean, unless you want Devin Booker to just spin him around and around in practice, then he's pretty worthless for y'all. But Justin Jackson, Dorian Finney-Smith, and the 18th overall pick for Kelly Oubre Jr. What do you think about that one?
Yeah, I think I'm going to keep Kelly in that one, if I'm being honest with you. And it's not because of Justin Jackson. First of all, I want to say, I think Mavs fans have such a funny relationship with Justin Jackson. Just as, like, you guys have an objectively good team, but there's, like, he's, like, the only player on this objectively good team that is just, like, a bad player. Just, like, a bad player who gets into the rotation every night, fucks things up. Am I allowed to curse?
Yes, yeah, of course, yeah.
I should have checked. Just gets in there for 15, 20 minutes a night, fucks things up. I think you guys have a really funny relationship with how much you knock Justin Jackson online. But it's not because of that. It's just, right now, the Suns are fully into the Chris Paul thing. Kelly Oubre needs to be in that deal in order to make that work. If I'm trading Kelly Oubre, a guy who's been, I'm going to be honest, like, as far as Suns fans go, I'm not the highest on Kelly Oubre, just as like a basketball player that you'll find.
Yeah,
if I am going to trade him, I want to trade up, not down at this point. Like, I don't want to trade for more picks. I want to consolidate into something bigger if I can find it. So I mean, Kelly could potentially be on the table, just not for that stuff. Dorian Finney-Smith is an interesting name, though. There are, I'll put it like this: when I look at the Mavs roster right now, there are a few names that intrigue me, and don't worry, they're not Luka Doncic or KP, but there are a few names that intrigue me, but I don't actually know that you'd be willing to give any of these guys up. Like, let me ask, how do you feel about Seth Curry?
I like him. I think he might be one of the worst defenders in the NBA, and I think he might be the slowest player in the NBA. He literally...
He's too passive at times.
Exactly. If my thing is with him, if he doesn't shoot the ball 5 times, there's no reason for him to even go on the court. And I said that very early in the year when he was shooting terribly, and people got really mad at me for it. And then he started getting hot, and he would have like amazing games, but then he would have 15 minutes one game and shoot the ball twice, and then the next game he would play 22 minutes and shoot the ball 11 times. So my thing is, like, if he's not shooting 5 to 7 times a game, there really is no point to have him on the team because he
for sure
doesn't do much else. But you can definitely take Seth Curry for Kelly Oubre. I'll tell you that.
What about, like, swap out Finney-Smith for Curry in that trade? So it's Curry and the 18th pick and Justin Jackson for Oubre. Would you do that?
I don't know. Yeah. I guess, but would you be interested in 31 instead?
I don't see. This is tough.
Because at 18, we could grab another like wing, and that's what we desperately need.
I know. Well, but that's why. So I'm giving you Oubre. I'm getting back Seth Curry, right? And
Okay.
I don't want to play Justin. I don't want to play Justin Jackson. So I want the 18th pick so that I can take a wing with that 18th pick.
Well, you could
know
take a
what I
wing
mean?
with
Like,
the
I'm
31st pick.
Yeah, but not as good of a wing. I'm thinking like Desmond Bain is there at 18. I'm thinking like Sadiq Bey is there at 18 maybe. Aaron Neesmith might be there at 18. Like a guy who's playable.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess there's probably a guy who's playable at 31 too, but you see what I mean, right?
Yeah, I know what you mean. I'm just like, just my whole thing is like it's kind of lateral to trade for a wing for a wing unless you can get like two wings. Or, you know, I guess
Sure.
I guess you're taking Curry, or I guess you know
Well-
you're taking Curry instead of the wing, but we still
Alright,
need
let's-
we could get a
let's
good
move
shooter
back.
at 18.
Let's move back a little bit and just not a full reset, but I like. So you said with the Lakers, right? You wanted Danny Green. You want like a veteran, right?
Right,
Kelly
yeah.
Oubre's. I mean, he's a good player. Don't get me wrong. He's not a veteran. So like, how does he match with your priorities for what you're going for?
I mean he's not a veteran, but he's at least 3-and-D. He's 3 years younger than Dorian Finney-Smith, or 2 years younger than Dorian Finney-Smith, and he's played in the NBA way longer. I just think he's
sure.
I think he's a better Dorian Finney-Smith. I don't think he's, you know, Danny Green when Danny Green gets it going. Like that intensity and that like level of play is very important. And I think Dorian has more intensity than Oubre. I think Oubre could be a lot better. He just hasn't done it yet, or he just isn't as focused as people would like him to be, which I think is what your knock is on him. I don't want to speak for you though. I just think he's just an excellent wing defender and a decent enough shooter to where Luka would make him look maybe 5 times better than he actually is, which is what.
No, I mean he would totally improve your guys' team. I agree with that 100%. And also, I have to look at your roster again. But like, my one knock on Dallas, I guess I would say, like, who was your third leading scorer?
It
This
would have
past
been
season? It was-
Timmy.
It was Tim. It was
Yeah.
Hardaway.
Yeah.
Yeah, 15.8 points per game. Like,
Mhm.
the problem with Oubre is, and I'm not trying to dissuade you from trading for him right now, but the problem with him is like you need to bring him into a solid culture to like kind of like just calm him down, because he's the type
Yeah.
of guy who will go out there and he'll score 20 points and like get 1 assist. Like he won't really pass the ball. Like he drives relentlessly. He puts a lot of pressure on the rim. All that is great stuff, but like you need to kind of fit him into a system and be like, okay, we need you to pass out sometimes. If there's a wall forming of 4 guys under the basket, we need you to like pass out to the open guy on the perimeter and not try to posterize the entire other team. So he just needs to be settled down a little while. But like if you guys just need a third player who can go out there and like be your 18 to 20 point per game like third scorer, he'd be really, really amazing in that role. The question is, are you willing to give up Seth Curry in the 18th pick for that?
I get
Huh?
if I can keep Tim Hardaway. If I can keep Tim Hardaway, I would do it. It would hurt, but I would do it. Because I mean, at least
Okay.
we're not committing to Oubre a long time, and we get Seth's money off our books. Which it's not a
Alright,
bad
tell you what.
contract, but it's off our books.
Tell you what, I'm still going to OKC first. I'm still asking if we can figure out that whole thing. But as a backup plan, I am coming to you, and I'd be happy with this deal. I'd do it.
All right, I'll ring Donnie up and ask him about it. So, David, what would you do? Would you prefer Dorian for Oubre in this 18th pick, or would you prefer Curry and the 18th pick for Oubre?
I'd be fine giving up Curry over Dorian, honestly, just to keep our
Yeah.
to keep the defense that Dodo brings. And then if you look at like Tim Hardaway, he made a jump in like 4 or 5% from 3 when he
Mhm.
started playing with the Mavericks, like the Luka LeBron effect.
Of course.
He elevates everyone on his team, and when you have the offensive minded coach as Rick Carlisle, they got the like leading offensive efficiency in like history.
Yeah.
Pretty sure you're going to be able to get the best out of Kelly on the offensive side of the floor. So
That's very true. And
for him to be our third piece, that seems like it would fit perfectly.
well, I still think he would be our fourth if we still had Tim.
yeah, if we keep Tim, they're interchangeable.
Yeah.
Either one of them could be our third leading scorer any given night. But
I think Tim is ultimately better, but yeah, I mean, I think Oubre would literally look so crazy next to Luka and Dorian and Tim. It would be amazing. Plus, if we kept the 31st pick, we could either find shooting that way. Seth would be really hard to replace because he shoots 45% almost, but we could find a decent enough shooter with the 31st pick or with our MLE. Real quick before we move on from the Suns, I just want to mention it's crazy because like I follow you, Mike, Zona of course, and Sean Longley, and it seems like we all want the same people. We want like I want Chris Paul. I want Christian Wood. I want like all these other guys
You got good taste. What can I say?
yeah, it's kind of like we're kind of a similar team. Like, yeah, we may have won a little more games last year, and I think a lot of that is due to the Aiden suspension and Rubio being hurt, but for
You guys-
Rubio being in and out. But
This is
y'all
this is
have
coming from a yeah. Sorry, you go.
y'all have one like crazy offensive like guy in Devin Booker, and we have Luca, and then y'all have Aiden, who is somehow super underrated, like and very under the radar, and we have KP, so it's sort of like a similar dynamic where we're both sort of one step away from really competing and like really making a splash, even though the records might not be exactly the same.
Yeah, I mean we're a little bit further away, but I appreciate the
Yeah.
compliment. The
Well, I
teams,
mean,
think,
if
know,
y'all
they
get
are-
Chris Paul, like you're
Right, for
you're
sure.
over us. I think.
That's interesting. You think that next year?
I think if y'all get Chris Paul, keep Mikal Bridges, keep Aiden, and keep Booker, then that is
That's crazy.
that
to me, man.
as of right now that is better than a Luca and KP and Tim Hardaway trio.
Well, I was gonna ask a second ago. You guys, you only have the MLE, right? You don't have cap space.
Courtney Lee comes off our books, and then Tim Hardaway has an $18 million option. Other than that, yeah, we're right at cap. But it's
JJ.
He's taking that.
do what?
Don't
Oh,
get
yeah.
like an extra 1.5 from JJ or something.
We'll get we have JJ coming off the books, and then I guess we haven't really accepted or denied Justin Jackson's option, but I would assume we opt in just to try to trade it. I'll remind you. I don't know if I'm sure you watched our series. DeLon Wright did not play in the last 3 games, so it's kind of like a consensus thing among everyone in Mavs Twitter that he's probably gone. So
That's interesting.
I think we're probably looking to move off of him in any way possible, even if we have to get rid of one of the picks or.
Well,
Yeah,
I kind of
someone.
I thought that was interesting. Like coming into this, I kind of thought you were gonna offer him to us because the whole thing. The reason I want Curry, the Suns need a third guard. Because Rubio Booker was really good last year. CP3 Booker would be amazing, obviously, but man, our bench guards just sucked, and like we didn't have a stabilizer. Like Javon Carter's cool. You like Javon Carter, and he comes in there, he gives you hustle, and he shoots 40% from 3. But like they didn't have someone who could just kind of like competently dribble the basketball and like create their own shot and stuff like that. So they needed a guy like that. I don't really know that DeLon Wright is that guy. Like I don't know that I'm interested in him being that for Phoenix, but I was a little surprised just that you didn't try to pawn him off on me.
Well, so my thing with and David is probably like right up there with me because we before the season even started, we were literally watching DeLon Wright like hype videos, and we were like, yeah, this guy's amazing. Like he is a really long and good defender, and he's very athletic. He just does not fit with what we do, like at all. Like I think him and Rick Carlisle get into it a lot behind the scenes.
One
He
of those point guard stories with
Yeah.
Rick Carlisle again.
he's another Rick Carlisle like failed point guard. I think he's great. I mean, Memphis and Toronto's one of the best player development teams in the league. They both view him very highly, and I'm sure we view him very highly. It's just something about him and Luca and KP. It just isn't working, and I don't know what it is because he's not bad. He doesn't look winded. He gives effort. It's just. And also I was trying to do a deal where y'all save money because I'm trying to get y'all Chris Paul if we can't get him. I think Chris Paul in that Valley Boys jersey would be gorgeous.
So, the Suns are going after Chris Paul. What happens to Rubio?
Rubio's in the trade, no doubt.
Okay.
Yeah.
He has to be.
Yeah.
So the trade, Mike and I talked about it. It basically has to be. There's a way you can do it without giving up Oubre, but it's very difficult. So it's probably Rubio and Oubre have to be like the framework of the trade, and then picks. I don't know exactly what picks. I'm sure they're arguing over that literally as we speak.
Yeah.
But Rubio and Oubre are the 2 pieces who are gone.
Gotcha.
So we'll see, man. We'll see. I mean, it's definitely a loss for us as well. Because Rubio came in, he almost led the league in assists. The Suns as a team led the NBA in assists. So like Rubio, kind of what he came in and did is he instituted like a structure
Yeah.
to this offense. Like it was the
He really
first
did.
time the Suns really had a structure to their offense in like 6 years. And then Oubre obviously did so much for the culture too. So like I can see why not every Suns fan is into the idea of it. But at the same time, Chris Paul was a top 15, top 20 player in the NBA
Yeah.
last year. So he is old, but I think it's worth it.
Old and expensive, but I definitely. I mean, you gotta take a flyer on a guy like that. I mean, if you're a team that's like, okay, we need to show Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton we mean business, then you go out and you get Chris Paul, which is why I want Chris Paul. Like, you want to show Luka and KP, hey, we're gonna win championships and we're gonna win them now. You go out and you get one of the best point guards of all time. Like, I know he doesn't have the best playoff resume, but it's Chris fucking Paul. It's a no-brainer to me.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else on the Suns, guys?
I mean, I have like a 3-team trade with Dallas, Phoenix, and Sacramento.
Oh, yeah.
We want-
And Sacramento. Okay, let's hear it. We'll do Sacramento next then.
Well, I was looking at Rubio and Gianluca to Dallas,
Oh, I love this already.
Seth, Jalen Brunson, and Jabari Parker to Phoenix plus our 31, and then DeLon and 18 to Sacramento because they need a defensive guard. They need the playmaking. 18 plus, what other pick do they have? 15 or something like that this year. So to be able to get the age off their team, try to start younger. I mean, not start younger, but their oldest would be like 28 at Bogdanovich. I feel like the Kings, their window isn't right now, so try to look towards the future. The Suns get the shooting from Curry, get the playmaking from Jalen.
We also get Jalen. I really like that.
Yeah, Jabari Parker's kind of a wild card with his injury history. He had a shoulder problem this last year, and his ACL was like a few years ago. But
Yeah, when he plays, I mean,
a solid guy.
yeah.
And then, I mean, Rubio and Gianluca, the Balkan boys, would be unstoppable, man.
Yeah, we're saying fuck defense all the way on that, but I'm all in on that.
Gianluca isn't that bad on defense.
No, he's great on defense, but I mean, I guess we're not really giving up defense either, so.
Yeah, we're not.
But
Gianluca
yeah,
shoots like 41% from 3. Seth shoots good from 3. So Gianluca can stretch it out and rebound, play defense inside. He's a little bigger than KP. He can take more of a beating. Rubio's like that secondary playmaker and / defender that we need. And for whatever reason, his shooting's gotten a lot better.
I definitely like it. My only thing is Belize is really slow, but I mean, we don't really play with pace, surprisingly. So I'm definitely all for that.
I feel like everyone gets something out of that.
Yeah, I like it, and I think with this offseason, we're gonna see like a record amount of 3 and 14 deals to go with like a record amount. Maybe I don't know about sign and trades, but we're definitely gonna see a record amount of 3-team, 4-team deals, and they're gonna all be very wacky, and I'm very excited for it. So my Kings trade is I'm pretty similar to you. I know for a fact the Kings are interested in Tim Hardaway Jr. They inquired about him last year with us, and they wanted to extend him and give him a boatload of money. And I think they're probably one of the only teams that will, besides us. So my trade is Tim Hardaway, DeLon Wright, the 18th pick for Buddy Hield, who his extension kicks in next year at $24 million, but it goes down every year, and Richaun Holmes.
I love Richaun Holmes.
Yeah. Richaun Holmes is one of the best rim runners in the league, which we play a 3 out with a rim runner and Luka handling the ball type offense. So we have 3 shooters, Richaun Holmes cutting to the basket, and Luka or Trey Burke or whatever, taking care of the ball. And Buddy Hield on the wing with us. I think it's a no-brainer that you do this, just because I want to see Timmy succeed. Timmy played well for us last year. I think if he comes back next year, he's gonna only improve. I think it's all uphill for Timmy if he goes to the right situation. I want to see him succeed. Unfortunately, Sacramento might not be the place for that. But as long as he's getting his bag and he's happy, that's cool with me. So yeah, I have Timmy, DeLon, and 18 for Holmes and Hield. What do you love about Holmes, Sam?
Exactly what you said, man. I mean, he's an amazing rim runner, an amazing hustle player. He protects the rim. He's just like, I was shocked when he went to Sacramento for like, what's he making, $5 million a year?
$5 million.
Thought he was worth way more than that after he left Phoenix. He played for Phoenix that 1 year when we won 19 games. That was a year ago.
Oh, yeah.
And he was like, other than Devin Booker going off, he was like, pretty much the only positive out of the entire season for me was like watching Richaun Holmes play, and also DeAndre Ayton's rookie year. But like if you guys got Holmes, exactly like you said, that's a 3-out offense plus the rim runner. It gives you like 48 minutes of just rim runner.
Yeah,
between
especially
Holmes and Dwight Powell. So
and
like
Maxey,
you would have and Maxey, you would have a really good combo there with those guys in your front court depth chart. He's awesome.
Yeah, I love him a lot.
He's
I've loved
awesome.
him since.
Buddy's more of a wild card for me.
Yeah.
That contract, but
My only problem with Buddy is like I've heard attitude problems and the whole thing about him lying about his age and him being a 3 or 4-year college player. That kind of puts me off of him. But anyone who shoots 9 threes a game at 40% definitely deserves a look, and especially next to Luka. And I mean, his contract isn't great. It's a lot of money, but it goes down every year at least. So it's movable. It's more movable as the years go on, as opposed to
that's true.
if it was evened out or backloaded.
He's still a third best type of player, no doubt. I mean, he's like, we were talking about Kelly Oubre a few minutes ago. Buddy Hield is a big step up over Kelly Oubre. I do think it's funny, like, you picked a hard division for this episode because just every other team here is trying to compete next year. Mm-hmm. So it's hard to find that team that's just like, if we were talking about like the Thunder right now, it'd be like, okay, they want to tank. So just like give them 18 and 31 and they give us this piece and it's like, it's easy. But since it's just 5 teams in the Pacific Division that are all just going to be going after it next year, it's just harder to find that perfect match.
It's very true. Even the Kings are going to, be trying as hard as they can, even though they might come
even
short.
The Kings are trying to build off their momentum. Maybe there was more momentum last year, but they still think, I don't know if I believe it, but they still think that they've got a team that can go out there and compete for an 8th seed. So I mean, they're going to try.
With a guy like De'Aaron Fox, almost anything is possible. I love that guy. Love that guy to death. David, what do you think about my trade?
I like it. I mean, Richaun Holmes, if we're not giving up defense, Holmes can help
Yep.
with recovery on what Hield can't cover on defense because he's not the greatest defender. But like you said, 40% on 8 or 9 threes.
Yeah, it's just below 9, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime a guard or a shooter comes to Dallas, they just automatically, even without Luka, with just Rick, automatically just play like out of their minds.
Yeah, elevates their game like crazy.
Mm-hmm. So the next 2 trades I have are a bit crazy, and I don't think either would ever happen, but they make sense to me. So if the Warriors, this guy, if you asked me to name the perfect player you would want on this team, this guy fits the mold. Draymond Green would be the best Mavs defensive player in history. It would be beautiful, but you'd have to give up a lot to get him, and the Warriors would have to be really kind of desperate to move off of him. But I think the trade I put together, they would really enjoy. So maybe they could use. I think if there were like a 3-team deal, they could use the assets we give them to really, really make a splash and get like a Giannis or like a Bradley Beal. But I have Draymond for Maxi Kleber, Tim Hardaway Jr., and the 18th pick. What do y'all think about that?
I'm sorry, who's the first one before Maxey?
Maxey, Tim Hardaway Jr., and the 18th pick.
Tim Hardaway.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think Golden State is there yet,
Yeah, I don't.
So
this would be like
they're gonna counter with, do you want Andrew Wiggins?
Say
no.
No.
Yeah.
I would do Andrew Wiggins I would do Andrew Wiggins for probably Tim Hardaway in the 18th pick, just because I think there's something there
really
with Wiggins. I think there's something with Wiggins. He's never been properly coached or trained or anything. He just got the ball a lot in Minnesota, and they said go to the rim. That's his only training he ever got. He's never, Flip and Ryan Saunders are great human beings, I think, but Minnesota's development is just, their track record is just not good. They're so lucky they got a guy like Cat to kind of hide it, because he's a 7-foot shooting guard. But yeah, I think you're right about Draymond. They're like a year or 2 away from this. Like Draymond would have to kind of really shit the bed next year for them to want to do this.
I mean, honestly, Draymond's been low-key shitting the bed for a while, but I think you're exactly right. I think they're like a year or 2 away, but by the time they realize that they actually do want to get off this guy, it's going to be too late, and he's not going to have any value anymore. Yeah, it's just a tough situation. I mean, I think it's just the state of the division. Golden State is going in next year thinking that they're a top 4 team in the West. They probably are, but they're going to give it all they got towards another championship.
Real quick, since we're just talking about Golden State, and I know you're a draft guy, who do you think they should take it to? And you too, Dave.
Oh man, Man, that's a good question. I still think they're gonna trade it. I think the funny thing about Golden State is they've been like the kings of smokescreen season.
Oh, Bob
Right? Like I
Myers.
feel
Ugh.
like yeah. Every day for the past few weeks, it's been like Golden State is interested in James Weissman. They're interested in Denny Avdia. They're
Yeah.
interested in all these guys. Like they just want everyone to believe that they're interested in everybody to inflate the value of the pick overall. I don't actually know who they're going to take. I mean, I think Weissman is or Kongwu, either center is a good play there. Just kind of like you've got the best backcourt of all time. You've got Draymond Green as a good defensive anchor. Just put a center like a Kongwu or Weissman. They're going to take Weissman realistically. If
I think
it's
so,
number
too.
2. To plug into that system, and there's just so much pressure lifted off their shoulders to not I think Weissman at number 3 going to Charlotte is a good play for them as well. But I think there's so much added pressure there to be like the star of a franchise who like can't have the benefit or the privilege of just focusing on defense, just focusing on like setting strong screens and rolling to the rim, but also has to like score 15 or 20 points per game. That isn't there in Golden State, so I think he would really have the benefit of being an impact player from day one.
Right. Well, I mean, I personally would want them to take Denny, just because I love Denny. But I think Charlotte. I think if they do take Denny, then Charlotte absolutely needs to take Okongwu from USC, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Okongwu or Wiseman. Yeah, I think I would love to see them in Charlotte. What do you think, David, about Golden State with its second pick?
Honestly, I'm not really sure about the drafts.
All right, that's A-okay, because I'm not really either. I've just been kind of listening to what guys like Sam say, and then kind of
I'm not. I just
spitting
want
it
to
back
put it on
out.
the record. Like, I just listen to what the real draft people say.
Yeah,
I'm not a
that's
real draft
okay.
person.
Yeah,
I'm
we-
not- like I have my opinions, but I'm not one of those draft guys. I'm not like Richie, who I know
Yeah.
was on one of your episodes. So.
Of course, yeah. I was just talking to him, but yeah. Yeah, he's Richie, and we have a lot of good draft people over at Mavs Twitter, which is awesome because that means I don't have to pay attention to it unless we're tanking. I'll stick to my cap space stuff. Okay, so finally, the Clippers. It's sort of the same deal. So Kawhi reportedly said he wanted a point guard. This is essentially the same exact trade I just did for the Warriors, except it adds Jalen Brunson, and we get Paul George instead. I know Paul George absolutely sucked against us in the bubble, but he's 1 year away from being, in 1 year removed from being in the MVP conversation, because until Russell Westbrook forced him to shoot his shoulders off, he was literally like one of the best players in the league in March of 2018. So Tim Hardaway Jr., Maxi Kleber, Jalen Brunson in the 18th pick for Paul George. What do you think about that one, David?
I mean, Paul George is still good. I feel like these last couple playoffs were an anomaly, and I don't know if the Clippers environment was the best for him. So I feel like we could maximize what we get out of him here. I mean, yeah, you can't overlook an MVP caliber player.
Yeah, definitely. And I
Like we're too attached to our role players on the Mavs.
mean, yeah,
Brunson's is gonna be good. Maxi's 29,
28 or 29, yeah.
and it's not like we want Tim forever. Paul George is obviously an upgrade on all those guys.
Yeah, I like Tim. I would sign Tim to a long-term deal tomorrow if he wanted, but it's just like we kind of just don't know right now what everything is looking like. Did you have a Warriors trade, David?
I know that the Warriors are talking about trading like their number 2 pick for Aldridge, so I like threw in the Spurs into a mix.
See, I like the Aldridge conversation because he's an expiring deal, and I think if you could trick the Spurs into thinking that we have talent that they can develop or fix, then they would be interested. But I think he'll more than likely be sent for like another expiring deal or just like I don't even know what his value is on the trade market, to be honest. But what's your trade?
Well, Aldridge and Justin Jackson to the Warriors just because the money. They can do whatever to Jackson plus R18. THJ to the Spurs plus the 2 pick, and then we get Wiggins.
Okay, yeah, I like that. I mean, we're only giving up the 18th pick and Justin Jackson, right? What was the
Yeah.
other? Yeah, I would do that in a
Kind
heartbeat.
of like the third team, just to pull Wiggins away, because I mean they don't really, with Clay and Curry coming back, Wiggins is kind of like backseat on that offensive part of their team. They could use Aldridge down low with his defense and down low presence, so I feel like it works out for every team.
Yeah, I mean, the reason I want Aldridge is just because, like I mentioned earlier when we were talking about the Lakers, I want like guys who have been there, guys who have been in big games, and guys who could close out these games. Like our biggest problem last year was, we were amazing for 3.5 quarters, and then we absolutely just could not put the ball in the basket for the last 6 minutes. So
I do point out that makes Paul George a pretty funny target. Like I also believe in the principle of like buy low, right? And I don't think Paul George is nearly as bad as he was in those couple of months, but
no,
it's kind of a funny contrast.
yeah, well, like see, like I've still like Paul George to me like is not. I don't when I think of Paul George, I don't think of the guy who just sucked in the bubble. I think of the guy who was in OKC, was an MVP candidate. I think of the guy who was literally one shot away from knocking LeBron out of his first championship, like in the Eastern Conference Finals. So that's what I see when I see Paul George. I don't, I've been watching the game for a long time. I've been invested for a long time. I don't see like my recency bias does not affect Paul George. Paul George is an all-star level player every single year in and year out. He's a perfect two-way player. He can do it all. I mean, he's not a playmaker. He can't really put the ball on the floor, but he does just about everything else you ask him to. And he's got a good attitude and temperament. He's a quiet guy. He doesn't really, he gets around, but that's about all. That's about all he does. Maybe y'all should make a trade for Paul George. Well,
That's interesting. I don't really know. I don't really know if there'd be a way for us to swing that. I think you'd have to do the Rubio Oubre stuff again, and at that point, I don't know. I don't really think it's worth it. But he is interesting. I'd maybe take another look at him like a couple years from now. When's the next time he hits free agency?
Paul is a 1+1 next year, so
Okay.
he could opt out at the end of this season and become a free agent. I doubt that happens though. Yeah, I doubt very highly that happens. So, since we're here, what would it take for you to give us Ricky Rubio?
That's interesting. So here's the thing. I really like Ricky Rubio.
Yeah,
I
as
think I
you
explained
should.
why earlier in the episode. So
He completely changed your offense. Like I agree with you.
completely changed our offense. So
Y'all
it's
won y'all won 11 of your last 13 games or something like that, including all the
Yeah.
bubble games, and then you beat the
Yeah.
Bucks before the
And,
before the shutdown. And he was y'all were amazing at the very start of the year too when you had everyone until Aiden got suspended.
Right. That's what I was about to say. Look, it's not fair to say stats like these sometimes because like everyone goes through adversity, right? But in the games where the Suns had DeAndre Ayton and Devin Booker and Ricky Rubio, and I recognize again, they'll have injuries next year. Even if Ayton doesn't get suspended, there will be times when they're without one of those three guys. But when they played with those three guys, they were 20 and 15. And when one of those guys was missing, mostly Ayton because he was suspended, they were not so good. So
Yeah.
I really appreciate what Rubio brings to the table, and with you guys, like I like DeLon Wright to an extent. I like Jalen Brunson. I like Seth Curry, but none of those guys can step in and just like run the offense like Ricky Rubio can. So,
Nah.
I think I'm gonna push back on trading Rubio unless you can get Chris Paul, in which case he has to go to OKC, or you can try to insert yourself as part of a 3 or 4 team trade to get him, or one thing we've heard a couple of times this offseason, I don't really know if I buy it or if it's just smoke, but the idea that the Suns are interested in Van Vliet, if that they would have to, get rid of some stuff to create space for that. But if they were interested in Van Vliet, then okay, I don't think Rubio has any interest in coming off the bench, so I'll try to flip him for something else and see what I can turn him into.
I definitely don't think. I think I would rather have Rubio than Van Fleet. I like Van Fleet a lot. I just think, like you said, Rubio is literally. I mean, he played on the Jazz. He was one of the best. He was something that opened up their offense a lot. And as soon as he, played in the playoffs for them, it felt like he became like a completely different player. And then he is like your oldie veteran like this year. He's not old by any means, but he is your veteran
No.
this year.
For sure, him and Baines really
Yeah.
led the culture. I mean, when the thing is, both he and Baines are such quiet. Well, maybe not Baines, but Rubio is such a quiet guy that when you hear interviews with him, like no one takes credit in that locker room for being the veteran who like leads everyone. It's kind of like we do it by committee. Everyone's got different stuff that they go to different people for. But no doubt, I mean, Rubio's, there's a lot of young guards on the Suns, and he's teaching those guys how to be professional, how to take care of their bodies. He's a great presence to have around. I think the question is, he lived up to his contract this year. He did a great job. Is he actually gonna like do the Jason Kidd, Steve Nash thing where, whoa, this is a guy who's actually, really good in his 30s. He's almost not dropping off at all. Or is he gonna, is the plummet coming in the next year, which it very well could. Is the athleticism that makes him like a solid defender right now, is that really finally going to fall off and he becomes more of a negative at that price point than he is a positive in the next year or two, in which case the Suns need to like scramble and find a replacement fast. So we're going to see what happens. But for now, I feel pretty good about just keeping him unless you can get an obvious upgrade like Chris Paul.
Yeah, that's where I'm at with most of our roster too. Like, I don't want to trade Tim Hardaway Jr. unless we can get someone who, like Clint Capella, who just changes our entire, defense and offense completely. All right, guys, thank you so much for hopping on with me and talking with me about the Pacific Division today. It really means a lot to have you. You can follow Sam at S Cooper Hoops, right? At S Cooper.
Yep,
Hoops.
you got it.
S Cooper Hoops on Twitter. Definitely check out his podcast. Him and Mike are very fun, even though Mike knows nothing about Jaren Jackson. And you can also follow David at DMoney23. One of the best Twitter follows, big LeBron guy. He's one of my best friends, so definitely go give him some love too.
It's DAV Right 23.
Oh, I don't.
Damn.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
Damn.
That's okay.
I'll put it in
my
the
name,
description.
my Twitter name is DMoney. So.
Oh, okay.
You
See,
think you know someone.
well, I know him so well. I don't pay attention to his Twitter. I see that little Luca Avi, and I see his name on my phone. That's what I see. All right. Everybody, have a good night.